Okay. Good afternoon, DeAndrea.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so just to let you know as a disclaimer, this role play is for the only uses only for the class assignment and is not real. So it's a mock therapeutic session, okay?
Okay.
Okay, first we're gonna start out with how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. At work.
Mhm.
I'm overall I'm feeling pretty good.
Okay, that's good to hear. Okay, so I think we're gonna start off with is a collaborative therapeutic partnership to where I just kind of talk to you about, some issues you might have or just a behavior or anything that you want to discuss with me today, and then we'll go on from there.
Okay.
So if you can think of either a situation that you might want to change, a behavior, or just in the general purpose of you coming to counseling in general.
Ooh. I would say one of the things that I've struggled with, like all my adult life, is being there for everybody else,
Mm.
but not knowing how to be there for myself.
Okay, and explain that a little bit more to me, like as far as what aspects are you having to be there for other people?
So, for instance, like my parents, both of my parents have medical diagnoses that require help. And so I'm the baby of the children. I live here in Houston, but my parents live in Beaumont.
Mm.
And unfortunately, all the responsibility of taking care of them, meaning like making sure they're going to their doctor's appointments, making sure their bills are intact, making sure that they're good, just overall that they're still, even though they have these diagnoses, that they still, are every day still thrive and still living. So it's kind of like I've become, as they've gotten older, it's like I became the parent and they became the children.
Right.
So that's a big burden on. I don't want to say it's a burden,
Of course.
but that is something that's heavy on me. And then on top of that, like when my friends need something, I'm there for them. If my sister needs something, if she wants to talk about something, I'm there for her. I make sure that I like go all out for other people because I feel like I'm a good person, and just people who come into my life, I want to let them know like that I appreciate them and like I value them. So like I make sure through my actions, like that they good or whatever the case may be. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Okay, so I think what I hear you saying is that you've been burdened with the responsibility of taking care of your elderly parents because they are now sickly, and you're basically trying to find out a way to incorporate yourself as far as not having to take care of everybody all the time. Trying to find out a way to kind of find some space for you in the midst of all of that.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like my parents, they're not like disabled or anything, but when you grow up and your parents are thriving, and then as age hits, things starts to change. So they're still capable of doing a lot of things, but just a lot of the responsibility falls on me, and I just feel like I don't have time for myself.
Okay.
But again, I say a burden. I don't want to say a burden, because I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do because they're my parents. However, it can be tedious and taxing when you're the only person that's doing it, and you could have assistance. Like we could all be doing it in regards to helping our mother. But unfortunately, that's just not the way it is.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your siblings and what kind of structure y'all have going on as far as earliest childhood events and how everything is going now to adulthood.
So like, there's a big age difference. My mother, my brother and my sister actually have the same father. My mother was married to their dad. And that didn't work out. My brother's like 53, I want to say, and then my sister is like 50, 51. They're 2 years apart. And then I came 11 years later. So I have a different father than what my brother and my sister have. They don't really have contact or communication with their dad, even though he's living. My parents have been married for about 38, 39 years now. I'm my dad's only child. So growing up in the house, really, like my brother, when I was little, he was already gone from the house. And then my sister, she lived with my grandmother. So it was basically just me. It was like them two, and they, did their thing because they were on the verge of like being adults, right? And so I came way later, so it was kind of like, especially being my dad's only child, like I'm the baby, I'm the only person in the house. And so growing up was, I would say, normal. I had a average teen, I guess, lifestyle or whatever. I went to school, got like a little part-time job, hung out with my friends. I never was like a kid to like get into like a lot of trouble or whatever. I just know that my daddy made sure, both my mom and my dad, but my daddy especially made sure like it was nothing that I didn't need. I was considered spoiled. I would say I am to a certain degree, but not like bratty spoiled. But my foundation is what I learned in the house there is what got me to being who I am right now. And what I mean by that, my daddy was not like the most highest educated person. In his graduating class, I want to say he graduated was like maybe 10 or 11 people. But he didn't have like the degrees or anything like that. But I see my daddy get up and go to work every single day. I see my daddy work hard. I see my daddy make a business out of building fence. And just like it was nothing that I didn't need or ever go for. So to me, I see my mom, she retired from the school district as a janitor. But I seen them go to work every single day, work hard, treat people right, and so those are the values that they instilled in me. And so when I got older and had the opportunity to go to college and all of the other type of stuff, and now I have like this professional setting, like my parents would never understand in depth what I do, just because of their age, and they're kind of desensitized to a lot of things now. But I'm definitely the manifestation of like what they poured into me when I was younger. So everything that they could not be, I tried to be. And it's just like I'm here today just simply because of the basis of their hard work. That's it, just the hard work.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, it seems like you come from a very foundational household where they, try to instill great values in you, so you make you become a better person.
Yeah.
As all parents should do, and I'm glad you had that experience, and you should be proud that you've been able to move further than your parents did, because that's always the goal of, a parent to a child. I'm sure it's the best that your parents wanted for you, just to be better than them, and just do more, and not have to live so, hard as they did growing up and surviving and stuff like that. So want to, just congratulate you for just moving past that, and, just doing what you have to do to make sure you have a secure future. And you are in the position now to be able to take care of your parents, even though you don't have the support of your siblings. So tell me, what have you talked to your siblings about how you feel about taking on the full responsibility, especially when they're older than you?
Initially when my mom, and again, my dad's ill, but I feel like that's not their dad, even though he had a hand in raising them. Like, I don't expect you to do anything for him per se, because he's my daddy. So I get it. Like, if you want to help out, cool, but I'm going to make sure my daddy's good regardless. But when it comes to our mom, my mom was diagnosed with on early onset stage dementia. And so before the diagnosis, her behavior was just like really sporadic. It was very confrontational all over the place. And I just kind of kept telling my brother and my sister, growing up, my brother is the oldest, and then my sister, and then me. So my brother was deemed like as the favorite child. Like, my brother could do no wrong. Then my sister, she was like the wayward child. Like, she stayed getting in trouble or whatever, so she felt like she was ostracized from the family. She was ostracized from the family. And then it was me, the baby. And so our career paths are completely different. Like, my sister's a bus driver, my brother is a technician for a school district. So when I was telling them, like, hey, I'm starting to see a lot of these behaviors, I was exposed to my mama. I'm around her more as she's gotten older, because they're both married, children, grandchildren, so they're, it's just me. So when I was telling my brother and my sister, like, hey, her behavior is not right, like, this is not something normal, like, I would tell my brother, and he'd be like, okay, I'm gonna take care of it, because I think subconsciously he knew he's the favorite kid, and he had the ability to change my mom's whole mood, like if he came around, but he didn't engage with my mother on a daily basis like how I did to see certain things. And so when that didn't happen, and my mom came combative with him just like she did with me and my sister, he completely washed his hands with it. And, you know, he was just like, you know, hey, I'm done. And it was like black and white for him. And so that was like really hard for me to deal with, because growing up, you know, we were told, like my brother would always say, if something happens, I'm gonna handle it. If something happens, I'm gonna handle it. So I looked to him to handle it, and I guess he just couldn't handle it. And so because he couldn't handle it, I think he just washed his hands with it. So I'd rather just, it's easier to wash your hands with it than to actually address the problem, because it was too much for him. So I mean, I've discussed my concern about it and stuff like that. We've discussed about it. We've had different arguments, debates, deep conversations. I do believe that they see me in a different light now, not as their baby sister anymore, but as an adult as well, who's knowledgeable, and who can make decisions. But I cannot make my brother, or my sister for that matter, you know, take care of their mom. I can't make them them do that. I just know only what I can do.
Right. Javette? Ted Javette? Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so let me sit with this for a second. So how do you feel? Tell me some first words that come to your mind about feelings about your siblings at this moment.
Anger.
Anger? And what makes you angry?
That I'm the one having to do everything, and they in the same city and don't really do nothing. Yeah, anger, frustration, forgiveness.
Explain forgiveness to me.
Forgiveness because I understand like what my mom and what she put us through, and it wasn't intentional. It was, again, this diagnosis that she had, and her behavior was a contributor to finally getting to that place. It took a long time for us to be able to address my mom medically, because we just didn't have the help or the direction in which way to go. But forgiveness, because what I realized is that hurt people hurt other people. And so my mom kind of reverted back to when my brother and my sister were younger, and when she was younger, and said and did hurtful things to my brother and sister, just as she did me. And my brother in particular, who was like, again, like the favorite son, the favorite kid, couldn't do no wrong, he's the one who washed his hands with her. And I say forgiveness, it took it, and I'm still working with it, because I realized that, again, it's easier to ignore something versus confronting it head on.
Right.
So if I don't acknowledge that I have a mom, or I don't acknowledge that she's sick, or whatever the case may be, it doesn't exist. Therefore, I don't have to deal with it, and I don't want to deal with it because it hurts. It's hurtful. So in what he's doing and retracting from communicating with my mom, is he's hurting her, but he's doing it because he too is hurt. Right. And so it's just a cycle of like deep rooted pain that I think everybody is in, and that her illness before being diagnosed till now has just surfaced, you know, like generational stuff. Because in my family, like, it's normal for like, I'm not talking to that person today, and I don't talk to them for months, weeks at a time. Like that's been kind of like the norm with us, unfortunately. And so I think it starts with me. I feel like I'm a generational curse breaker, because I see things differently now. You know, I'm coming up in a different age. I'm in a different mindset than what my brother and sister are. And so a lot of these things that we're enduring or whatever, they not really, I don't think they're at the place where they can like evaluate it in its entirety, of like what it is, of what it really is. And so because I'm able to do that, that's why I say forgiveness, because, you know, I can't change the fact of how my brother engages or don't engage with my mom, at the end of the day, um, he has to come to grips with, you know, how he has treated his mom while she's still here. Um, but that's between him and his mom, and that's another thing that I take on the burdens of like my mom's issues.
Right.
So like, because you're not talking to my mom, like I stopped talking to my brother, you know, and now I did that for like 2 years, and that was difficult. And we just started back communicating maybe a year ago.
Oh wow, okay.
Maybe a year ago, and we don't communicate like daily or anything like that, but we may talk maybe like once every 2 months or something, or text. And what I just had to understand in doing that is that like he's still my brother. The relationship that he has with his mother, who is also my mother, the relationships are completely different. I got my mom when she was older because I came so late, but they got my mom when she was younger, when I didn't exist, and there were things that went on that my brother and my sister felt as a child that they were wrong by my mother, and rightfully so. So the way that they were engaging with her now is completely different from me, because my mom was older and I didn't deal with the same circumstances in which my brother and my sister did with my mom. So now that this is coming to pass, it's just kind of like, you know, hey, I understand it now. Like your mom and my mom, even though she's the same person, are two totally different moms.
Gotcha.
Totally different moms. And so I have to understand it and still think about, like, you know, okay, you're dealing with your mom, but you still have a brother here, and your relationship with your brother was good. Like you had a big brother. Like I looked up to him, even though I was disappointed that he didn't come through when everything was going on and like I needed him to. He's still human. And we all fall short. Like I put him on a pedestal. I look up him like he's just everything. But no, he's just a human, just like the next person is, and he falls short just like the next person do. So I just don't want to continue like living my life and I'm talking to this person, or I'm not talking to that person, because life is too short. Like I have one brother only. So I want to make the best of the relationship that we possibly can, and that's it. So I mean, in my heart, I'm still learning day by day, engaging with him, like forgiveness, and it's hard.
Gotcha.
It's hard.
So basically, your parents' illnesses have drawn a wedge between you and your brothers, especially somebody you actually love and admire, which makes it even harder because you don't have that extra support that you thought you were gonna have when it came down to your parents getting sick.
Right. And
due to him not, stepping up to the plate, it has also caused more burden on you. And somewhat kind of probably resentment too, right?
Right.
Because you're the oldest, and you promised me that you were going to step up, and then of course you mentally couldn't handle it. But where does that leave you, right?
Right.
Okay, so explain to me, just going back to you and your life, how has anger, or how does anger affect your daily life now? How often do you get angry? How do you react to anger, and and how often does anger impact your daily living and your ability to be happy with your life?
In all honesty, when I get mad, I'm extremely mad, but I don't stay mad long. So I'm not, when I'm angry, I'll have like this big explosive moment or this duration or whatever, but then after that, I'm done. Like I cannot function being angry because of how angry I get. So it's always like a short amount of time, and when I say that, I mean it could be like about a certain situation or a person, a couple of days, or not like consistently walking around with anger in my spirit. But the thing that does resonate from the anger is pain and hurt. So once I'm angry, it just depends on what the situation is to spark to get my anger. But once it is, it's extremely explosive. And then I try to stay cognizant of not getting too angry too often, just because I know, like, I start having body symptoms. I suffer with migraines, so I start to get really bad headaches, or sometimes I lose like sight of vision sometimes. So because I'm cognizant of like what it does to my body physically, I try my hardest not to get into that place of rage. but anger always resonates. It always transitions into hurt, into pain for me. And that's the thing. Like when I hurt, and I hurt for a long time. So I would say more sadness than anger. But I'm able to operate in sadness. And whatever it is, like I'm able to have this, take this burden with me, but still be able to produce daily. I can still be sad, but I gotta go to work. I can still be sad, but hey, I gotta make sure my mom and my daddy good. I can still be sad, but I got bills to pay. You know, like it don't stop because you're sad. You know, or you're hurting. The difference now is that I'm again more cognizant of that, and so when I'm hurt, you know, I allow myself to feel that pain because I'm entitled to it. But after feeling that pain, I cannot continue just to linger in it and not try to do anything about it because it's not conducive to me. So I try to, you know, try to do things when I feel like it's getting to be enough. Like, okay, let me do some coping skills. Let me journal. Let me meditate. I pray a lot. A lot of times I feel like God has like overlooked me, but I'm always praying. You know, so I just ask God to just continue to give me the strength, continue to give me the strength to walk in whatever it is that He would have me to do. You know, and on the outside looking in, it's like, oh, you know, she got a good job, she don't have no kids, you know, blah blah blah. If I were in your position, I wouldn't have nothing to worry about. My sister tell me that all the time. If I was in your position, and I get it. But still, and I don't want to ever make it seem like I'm not appreciative or grateful for the blessings that God has given me. But it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you're feeling alone is what I'm getting from it. You're feeling alone as far as you just feeling frustrated. Anger, of course, is the initial, you know, the initial reaction to what's really deep down inside, which is hurt of feeling lonely, hurt of feeling incomplete. Seems like hurt from feeling overwhelmed with life, and hurt from just not getting your own accomplishments that really are important to you accomplished because you're putting everything and everybody else first. So tell me about some because I know you said self-care, which is what I was going to lead to next. You said you meditate, you pray, and you have a strong relationship with God, correct?
Yes.
And what are some other physical activities that you try to kind of deviate away from depression and sadness that comes along with this journey that you're on right now that you can't immediately fix or change?
Yeah, I listen to music a lot. I love music. I've gotten into traveling here lately. I love to travel. So I have a goal where I want to visit each state in the United States. It doesn't matter what city, just make sure that I touch every state in the U.S. I've gotten even a little bit bold and started traveling on my own. And so I just recently took a trip to Florida, just a random trip to a random place, where I spent the weekend, the 4th of July weekend, and I just basically relaxed. I was by myself, meditated, went to the beach, went shopping, went, you know, restaurant, just to kind of decompress and just leave everything, work, family, personal issues, just leave it alone and just be in the moment. And what I mean by being in the moment is like I was at a pier having lunch, and all I could see was the water and the clouds and the sun, and all I could see was the ripples in the wave. And I was thinking like, God, like who could do this? Who could create such a beautiful sky and put a big bold sun up there, and at the same time you feel wind? You don't see it, but you feel it, and you look at the water and the waves, and it was just like, it reminds me, like, you know, when it comes to my relationship with Jesus Christ, like I can't see him, but I can feel him. Wind is the same thing. Like I can't see wind, but I can feel it, so I know it's real, you know. So just those type of reflections that get me into a place of gratefulness, mindfulness, and like I said, then I come back, I'm rejuvenated, I'm ready to get back at it. So that's one of the things that I like to do, is travel.
Gotcha. Okay. So we are getting to a close of our first session, but I do want us to reflect on some of the things that we discussed today, just so we can kind of sit with it and just figure out what we can do to collaboratively move forward and just enhancing your life as we move forward. So you're saying that of course you're in a position now where you're having to take on responsibilities of your sickly parents,
Mm-hmm.
and in that role that you're playing now, you've had to do it alone and you've lost support from people that said they were going to support you.
Mm-hmm.
However, these feelings have made you feel anger and hurt, but your way of dealing with it so far, I mean, you've been able to recognize it and be cognitive of it, and what you do is you try to alleviate those feelings by praying, meditating, and now you just started traveling, right? So
Right.
traveling gave you a sense of peace and brought you kind of closer to God as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how do you feel that those two things, meaning traveling and just your continuous relationship with God, how do you feel like that can motivate, not even motivate, how can that continue to enhance your feelings of anger, hurt, and keep you going throughout this process? Because of course we don't know how long this journey is going to last.
Right.
But how do you feel about those two things carrying you through this journey? How do you feel about the effectiveness of those two things that you do?
I think that they're intertwined in all honesty for me. But anything that I do is intertwined with God because He's in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what I mean by the intertwining, like with the trip, I realized, like, man, I went to this place in Florida. I went to Punta Gorda. I never heard of Punta Gorda before. I was like, I don't know where this place is at. I seen the cheap flight. I booked it. But I was thanking God, like, for one, keeping me safe, because I literally know nobody out there. Like, I'm seriously alone in this city.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God it's not like a big city or anything. It's really slow, really cool scenery. But thank God for safety. Thank you for keeping me. Thank you for being with me when I'm traveling on this plane and when I'm, getting a hotel room and, just moving about an unfamiliar area. But at the same time, as if thanking Him for my safety, giving me a sense of peace.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, like, even though I don't know where I'm going, I'm about to find out. It's
Right.
gonna be an adventure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh shoot, I don't know who has good restaurants.
Yeah.
Hurricane Charlie is on the pier. Okay, where that's at? Let me find that place.
Right.
So it's kind of like taking a chance. It's stepping out into the unknown.
Right.
And so because of stepping out into the unknown, the scenery is totally different. Like I can't swim for nothing, but I love to look at water.
Right.
Like it brings peace to me, and it makes me build up my courage, and it gets me to be stronger in whatever it is that I feel like that I'm tackling. So like all I want to do now is come back and work again so that I can save some more money and find somewhere else to go.
Yeah.
And I think it's like absolutely needed for me. Just for self-care, I'm not like trying to go and I like to travel, period, but sometimes just to decompress and get away from everything and just be alone with God. And so I'm thankful for those two mechanisms, especially God in everything. I don't even want to call God a mechanism. He is everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the concept of traveling,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just something that I can experience on my own. I can definitely go like on girls trips and our friends trips and turn up and all of that, but sometimes you just need to be alone and solace. And so I'm really, really intentional about protecting my peace now. And that's with God. That's with whenever He gives me something to do, if I feel like it's healthy for me because I have so much going on, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay. So yeah, it seems like you found some type of freedom. You found a way to reach freedom outside of your responsibilities. The responsibilities we always gonna have some type of responsibility, whether it be kids, marriage, parents, jobs. But you have found a way to seek freedom in the midst of all of that, which actually creates solace and creates peace and creates self-care, like you said. So I would love to encourage you to keep doing those things as we move on through this therapeutic journey, because those are going to be the key factors in you just kind of, remaining solid in this foundation, because we never know what's going to happen in life, but you just knowing you're intentionally making efforts to take care of yourself always, just creates some type of push to keep us going in life,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And just keep us able to do the things that we do for other people, even though we're not getting anything in return. You're rewarding yourself in return.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
and we're going to continue to explore those things as far as life goes, the things that you may want, things that are keeping you from getting the things you want. We're going to explore your love life. We're going to explore, you know, any other dreams that you may have that something might be standing in the way, or you feel like you might not can do at the moment, but you really want to do.
Right.
So those are the things that we're going to stick with and explore. But as of right now, all I want to do is encourage you to just continue to be graceful and continue to seek out the things that make you happy in the midst of you having to take on the responsibilities that you currently have right now. And if there's anything as far as a new task or a new activity that you want to explore in the midst of that, as far as self-care goes, try that as well. You know, anything that just gears towards you having peace and having some type of solace in this time right now where you're alone and having to support other people with nothing refilling your cup.
Right.
So that's what I would like to encourage you for this session.
Thank you.
And as we move forward, we're going to continue to discuss other topics that, you know, that build off of this topic here and get you to a point where you can enjoy everyday life despite the trials, tribulations, and other issues that we have that we cannot control.
Right.
So overall, how do you feel about this first session?
I feel pretty good. I feel like because I'm cognizant of myself, that I know my truth.
Mm-hmm.
I've become more brave and more bold to speak my truth.
Mm-hmm.
And to just show, like, hey, you never know what somebody is going through.
Mm-hmm.
This could possibly help encourage somebody else, because somebody else may be going through it. Somebody else may be dealing with something way worse.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like my voice is my power.
Right.
And so I'm just starting to verbalize a lot more of like what I deal with and stuff like that. So I'm proud of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I was able to be vulnerable and transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thank you for that.
Yes, no problem. I'm so glad you were able to feel vulnerable and able to speak freely here. And if nothing else, that's what this is for you to be able to speak freely. That way you can kind of see from yourself, because you're the expert of your own life. Even we don't know some of the driving forces behind what you do. You know a lot of them, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But just to hear them out loud kind of just penetrates you a little bit more when you hear it out loud. Because a lot of us sit with our feelings and minds on the inside because we don't have those vessels to talk to. We don't have those people that are there to support us and listen. So it just sometimes you just hearing yourself say certain things kind of bring out a lot of things like, oh, you know, or you already know it, but it's always refreshing to be able to feel it in a safe space.
Right.
Feel those emotions in a safe space and just kind of not even deal with them, but just explore them.
Right.
And explore ways to enhance your life in the midst of those